King Charles turns 75 a week tomorrow, but his youngest son has reportedly turned down an invitation to his father's birthday party at Clarence House. Prince Harry's relationship with his dad is believed to have broken down over his depiction of Queen Camilla in his best-selling memoir, Spare. TalkTV's royal editor, Sarah Hewson, joins me. Lovely to see you.
And you, Vanessa.
Seems like a shame. I can't believe anybody doesn't think that. You know, it's his father's 75th birthday. You know, he's knocking on a bit.
And it's such a contrast when you think back to Charles's 70th birthday. Harry and Meghan had just got married. They were due to be going on their honeymoon and they delayed leaving so they could attend a garden party which was being held to mark Charles's 70th birthday earlier than his actual birthday to get the decent weather. But I suppose it's not really a big surprise given the state of relations between Harry and other members of his family. And when he was over here for the Well Child Awards earlier in the summer, he didn't see his father. And I think it was pretty unlikely that he was going to be making the journey back from California here for a party at Clarence House.
And is it true to say that the King has never yet seen Lilibet, Harry's
daughter?
Or has he seen her once?
He has seen her once, and he was described as being very emotional during that meeting. She came over for the Platinum Jubilee celebrations. It coincided with her first birthday, and the King was able to see his granddaughter then. But as far as I'm aware, that's the only time because, of course, when the Queen died, Harry and Meghan were here on their own. The children were back in California. And Harry's most recent visit was him on his own. He came back for the coronation as well, but again on his own.
Gosh, it just seems a terrible shame. Whatever you think of any of them, it seems like a shame because we all know how we feel about our grandchildren, our children, our families, how important, especially, you know, with world events, feeling such a kind of turmoil and so much grief. And, you know, just talked about the First Minister of Scotland welcoming his in-laws and our correspondent said such happiness in the family. And that's what you want, isn't it?
And there are two little children growing up in California without knowing their British family, without knowing their cousins, George and Charlotte and Louis, without knowing their grandfather, the King. It is very, very sad. And I think it tells us a lot about those relations. And at the moment, there doesn't seem to be any real thawing.
Does seem such a shame. Meanwhile, we all know the film The King's Speech, but we're about to have a real King's Speech.
We are the first King's Speech in more than 70 years. So tomorrow is the state opening of Parliament and King Charles will be travelling from Buckingham Palace to Westminster. We will see him don the robe of state and the imperial state crown that we saw him wear at his coronation, and he will deliver the King's Speech. Now, we call it the King's Speech. Actually, it's the government speech. It's written by the government, but it is read out by him. There may be some parts in the speech that he's not altogether comfortable with, particularly where we see the Prime Minister rowing back on net zero commitments, for example. But this is going to be a test. He talked about not being an idiot and knowing that he had to take a different approach when he was king. And so he'll have to have a poker face when he delivers that speech. The other thing he's going to have to do, Vanessa, is take his late mother's advice. And she said, you have to be very careful when you're reading the speech. You can't look down, otherwise the crown might fall to the floor.
Talking of crowns, I believe Camilla will be wearing her late mother-in-law's crown. Is that true?
I don't
read
know
that this morning.
Yet.
I wasn't sure.
We haven't got the confirmed official details of what Camilla is going to be wearing, but it is going to be a really significant moment because, of course, Charles did deliver the Queen's speech last year on behalf of his mother because she was too unwell to attend, but his first moment doing it as monarch.
And I believe the Queen was always worried because she had to wear white gloves for delivering the speech that she might mistakenly take 2 or 3 pages at once and turn them over and miss out some crucial legislation.
Pretty lengthy tome that he will be ploughing through as well. I mean, it's not the most exciting speech that he'll ever have delivered. And of course, it isn't his words and he has to deliver it word for word. And he will know that all eyes will be on him tomorrow because it is a moment in history.
And meanwhile, Prince William has had a rock star welcome in Singapore. And actually, I saw various members of the screaming Bobby Soxers crowd interviewed, and they're like, William! And then various people say, well, why is he here? Some of them did know it was Earthshot, though.
Yes, and they should know tonight if they're in Singapore, because the Singapore skyline and key monuments in Singapore have been lit up in green to mark the Earthshot Prize, which is taking place tomorrow. You can see him there on a walkabout, getting quite a very warm reception. There was one baby, I think, that was very taken with him and bit his finger. But he's also been dragon boat racing today. He's said to be very competitive, and he did very well. And he's been hosting the first global summit of his United for Wildlife task force. And he apologised that his wife, Catherine, couldn't be there, but he said she's back at home supporting George through his first major set of exams.
Gosh, Meghan, he's so young. He's having major exams?
Yes,
What's he taking?
well, he's in
Not
year
common
6,
entrance.
so it's the ISEB exams. It's the independent schools equivalent of the 11+. Gosh. So, yes.
Meanwhile, Omid Scobie, who people have described as the mouthpiece of Meghan and Harry, is busy again. He's writing another book.
He's written another book, and it's due out at the end of this month. It's called Endgame, Vanessa, Inside the Royal Family and the Monarchy's Fight for Survival. And the blurb describes it as a penetrating investigation to the current state of the British monarchy. An unpopular king, a power-hungry heir to the throne, a queen willing to go to dangerous lengths to preserve her image, and a prince forced to start a new life after being betrayed by his own family. Look, we know that Omid Scobie is very close to the Sussexes, often described as a mouthpiece of the Sussexes. His previous book, Finding Freedom, Meghan had to admit that she had contributed and collaborated in some way on that book. So I think we can expect to see this very much in favour of the California side of the
But you kind of
family.
wonder what his sources will be. If they're only the California side,
and
then he won't have an entree into the other side. Then he won't really know. I mean, he won't have an insider view of what's going on with
Well, this claims that he has spoken to royal family insiders, but given which side of the fence he very clearly sits on, I don't know how close to the royal family those so-called insiders might be. There is a chapter in this that I think everybody will be turning to first when they get it, which is entitled Race and the Royals, Institutional Bigotry and Denial. The real concern in royal circles and certainly within palace walls is how far he's going to go with this. Will Omid Scobie name that member of the royal family who, as Meghan and Harry said, questioned what colour Archie's skin would be when that was so explosive in that Oprah Winfrey interview?
Okay, do you think he will?
I don't know. And how the royal family will react will be very interesting in this. They didn't respond to Prince Harry's book, Spare. And I wouldn't expect them to be responding to a book by Omid Scobie. But if there are further allegations made of racism, I think we will expect some kind of response and robust denial.
Sarah Hewson, thank you very much indeed.